So welcome everyone. This is the 8th grade information night for families new to the US public school system. And Melanie and Rachel, just double checking with a thumbs up that I'm sharing my screen and everyone can see this. Nope. Okay.
Nope.
So let's start that.
There's also apparently not an option to message everyone in the chat, so I don't know if that's a setting that we can adjust.
Lorna, do you want to make me the primary host since I won't be presenting for a while and I can answer questions in the chat?
That sounds like a grand plan.
You are sharing your screen.
Okay, wonderful. Sorry, Melanie, I have lost you in my view. Okay, I'm going to hold off on that for now. Sorry, it's showing everyone a little bit differently. And so I'm having a hard time finding Melanie in here to start that. But I'm going to continue on so we can complete all of this until there's a pause. So the objective and the information we're giving today is designed to help our parents and caregivers who have not attended schools in the United States or just need more information around the American school system. So we created this presentation based on feedback from a group called the Family Partnership Advisory Group. And the families were stating that when they went to some of the information nights, sometimes they did not understand some information because they needed some background information to make sense of the information being presented at the high schools. So this, we'd like to say, is kind of like a refresher course or a base information course to help families better understand information that may be presented with high schools to families who are aware of the school systems and what is expected. For example, many families say they don't understand words like freshman, sophomore, junior, or GPA or transcript. So those are the things that we will primarily be covering in this session. We'll also give families information on where you can learn more information about some of the topics we talk about, because some of it are very dense and sometimes you just need to know where to go to get more information that you are hearing. So as I said earlier, my name is Lorna Gilmore and I'm part of the Family Partnerships team in the Issaquah School District, and there are 3 liaisons. So if you have any questions and you put them in the feedback form, you will be contacted by one of our 3 liaisons, and they are Ina Gangurdi, Liliana Medina, or Wenli Mital. And each one of them also works at one of the high schools. And so they're very aware of information about those 3 high schools, Issaquah High, Skyline, and Liberty. So they work through feeder patterns, and they will be able to give you more information about that. So if you have a child at Maywood, your child is going to be going to Liberty. Most Cougar Mountain kids will be some will be going to Liberty, and those who go to Cougar Ridge, will be going to Issaquah High School. The Issaquah Valley kids will also be going to Issaquah High School, Issaquah Middle to Issaquah High, Pacific Cascade to Issaquah High, Beaver Lake and Pine Lake to Skyline. And so that is a feeder pattern. So families need to know that your child will be enrolled automatically. And they also need to do one part though, which is a course selection. But all children in those middle schools are automatically given a spot in the high school. So this is public school. So you don't need to apply. You don't need to know if you'll get accepted or not. Every child will be accepted at the high school. And when you get to the high school, you will have options, and your child will be able to stay in the high school from 9th to 12th grade. And that is part of the US and the Washington State school system. You have free access to education till your child's senior year. So the big difference between secondary schools in the US and in other countries is usually that in the United States, Parents and very often parents and students are the managers of their education, um, and also who is the manager of their education and who's kind of driving the kids. In the United States, one of the biggest things is we really strive to have students be the advocate, be the driver, be the person who is in charge of their future, their education, their course selection. Another big difference in the United States is all students have access to free high school education from 9th through 12th grade. And in the Issaquah School District, one of the big things is most of the classes are self-select. And so it is very important for students to know that which class they're interested in and what they want to take. Sometimes teachers might give you suggestions, or you can ask a teacher for advice, but the district is not going to say, no, you are going to take this class, you have to take this class. Students have lots of choices because students are independent and they are responsible. They are the decision makers. Students will also need to advocate for their academic welfare. So in high school, especially, one of the big things is students are going to be the ones to talk to their teachers, to ask if they're missing assignments, to ask if they don't understand a concept, to get that help. So the students really are doing a lot of the work and communicating with the teachers. The parents on the back being the coach, being a mentor, being the supportive person, helping guide them. But the parents usually are not as involved in talking to the teachers and the counselors, unless there's, of course, a big problem. It's not that you can't, but we always strive for the parent to teach the child how to do it. And so the child is doing most of this communication, self advocacy at the school. In the Issaquah School District, we focus on college preparedness. However, there are many opportunities and pathways for trade schools, technical colleges, and other opportunities after high school. We have a plethora, we have many, many different choices for CTE classes. And one of the biggest things is the number of electives that we have that really helps and guides students, because if we're asking students to make decisions and to start making choices for their future, we also have to expose them to different classes, to different opportunities, to different pathways, economics, statistics, biology, maybe some kind of CTE course. So there are so many options given. So when you look at the course selection at your high school, you'll see many options. And between Zello and those options, students can kind of take different classes to see, oh, am I interested in this? No, let me try this. So really to look around, to shop per se for what they're interested in, and so they can pursue that as they leave high school. So the difference between middle and high school. So in middle school, your children all were in trimesters, and now your children will be in semester systems. The semester just ended 2 weeks ago, and they had big finals, and the final is given, and during that week, there will be a modified school system. So the final very often is a big part of their grade sometimes, but sometimes it depends on the class. But it is a big difference in what students are used to in middle schools, where they don't normally have end of semester finals. The students, as I said earlier, self-select their course throughout high school. It's not placed by a counselor. Your child will be able to start choosing their high school courses at the end of this month, early next month. I believe in March. The teachers and counselors, as we said, advise students regarding course selection and beyond high school, but it's the student decision. And there are even more choices in courses, especially as you move into 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. There are many opportunities for clubs and extracurricular activities, and school counselors and college and career centers are very important resources. You're probably not going to access those resources now. We'll talk more about counselors and those places, but just keep this in mind. Common high school terms. So one of the biggest things parents tell me when they start in high school is they use all these words and I don't understand. I'm getting used to saying these words. And that is freshman. So in 9th grade, students are referred to as freshmen. Your child is going to be part of the class of 2028. That's the year they'll graduate. And that's an important number to keep in mind, because often that's part of their student ID or different aspects. So they'll refer to it. This is for the class of 2028. So just keep that in mind. 10th graders are called sophomores, 11th graders are called juniors, and 12th graders are called seniors. And you'll see these words referred to a lot by the school in emails and bulletins. So, it's important to get familiar with these terms. Transcripts. You're also going to hear the term transcript quite often. And transcripts are a record of all the grades of all classes taken in high school. It shows the number of credits earned for each class. And the college and universities often require a school transcript as part of their application and admissions process. Now, just one of the things I want to say is there's going to be a lot of information provided to you through the course of the next hour and a half, 2 hours. And keep in mind that you're not required to remember or memorize any of this. 1, you'll get the slide deck. 2, you'll get the recording. And 3, a lot of this information you can get bit by bit through the course of the next 3 years, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. The beauty of high school is they will communicate with you and keep on reminding you some of the important steps that you have to go through as the years your child is in high school is there. So just keep in mind, the main thing to focus is on just a general overview so you feel more comfortable as your child starts high school. So grades. A big part of high school that some families are surprised and have a hard time with is in the United States, especially in the Issaquah School District, grades from K through 8, they matter, but not as much as they will matter in high school because every grade earned in high school becomes part of their high school transcript. And it's a cumulative grade for that semester. And it's based on tests, assignments, and projects. And each teacher might have different percentages that they assign for assessments and for projects, for class assignments, and so forth. So your child will have to look at the teacher's syllabus to get a better understanding of that, same as they're doing in middle school, except they're going to notice that there's a lot more emphasis or a lot of more weight put for assessments. Then, based on their percentage grade, they get a letter grade, and that letter grade then translates to a grade point system. So, for example, if they get a 91, 92, 90, 91, and 92, they get an A minus, and an A minus becomes a 3.7. So at the end of the semester, all those grades are averaged out, and then that average is their grade point average. To get a D is a passing grade. If you get less than a D, it's no credit is earned for that class. And this is an example of a grade point table. Rachel?
Rachel, before you begin, Lorna, Rachel and I are not seeing any questions in the chat. I think they might be going only to you.
Okay, I will work on that as Rachel starts presenting.
Okay.
And I just want to say I haven't had a couple questions really about course selection and planning ahead for college, and that those specifics won't be covered tonight, but you'll hear more at the night for the 8th graders that's coming later in February. So I'm not trying to ignore your curiosity. It's just beyond kind of our high level tonight. So just kind of picking up from where Lorna was left off and mentioned that our school is divided into half. So those are called semesters. So every year your student will have 2 semesters to earn credits. Some courses run for a half year, 1 semester, and others run for a full year. So an example of that would be like a 9th grade English class. That is a full year course. So at the end of the first year of English, your student will have earned 1.0 credits towards their English graduation requirement. We also have more classes than I think the middle schools have. I believe the middle schools have 6 and we have 7. So if you are taking 7 classes per semester, your students will be earning hopefully 3.5 credits per semester with a total of 7.0 for the full year. And we'll talk a little bit more about what the graduation requirements and quantity look like for graduation. But that's assuming a passing grade in all classes. Again, the D or better, 3.5 credits per semester. Lorna, we lost your presentation.
I cannot, Melanie became the host. Yeah, it's because I made Melanie the host and I lost the ability to share my screen. So Melanie, can you make me the host, because I cannot make you the host?
Thank you for your patience. While we work on that, I have the presentation on my other screen, so I can keep talking. The next point is just, it mentions if a student does not earn the credits required to graduate in your assigned class of 2028, they can continue high school until they complete their courses. So in some instances, that may be adding a 5th year, but those are exceptions, not the norm. And the final point, just to reiterate in this conversation, is that we have a compulsory attendance law that requires students between the ages of 8 and 18 to attend school, with some exceptions. So kind of the big takeaway with this is that attendance matters in high school, just kind of how grades have a different impact in high school than they might have in middle school. Attendance, has a high correlation with success in class. We have laws, so, family trips, excessive travel, excessive, missing school for various reasons. We have attendance laws that we have to follow. So we want your students at school.
Also, just a reminder that if a child is absent for multiple days, they're going on a long vacation or trip, teachers do not give the work ahead of time. Students are just expected to look at Canvas to get their makeup work. And then when they come back, they're expected to make up all the work required and complete all the assessments so they can get credit for that class. So that's one of the big issues and concerns for.
And extended
students.
absences can be really hard in high school with the 7 classes. So just really planning to be at school is important.
So next one is on transcripts. It's a big one.
So I like to think of a transcript as a giant report card. You've had experience in the middle school with accessing report cards at the end of the trimester. You do not receive this automatically, but this is the record that we're generating every grading period in our system. It becomes their record, as Lorna mentioned, that can be shared in the post-secondary plan. If the students are going to college or applying for a special program. We'll talk a little bit in a minute about how to access that, but what is included on the transcript is shown at the top. It does have that grading table that we just saw that shows the letter grade and the associated number for the GPA calculation. Underneath that, the next part it might have a record of where a student has earned credits on this transcript. So if a student has moved from another school outside of state, or if they earned credits in their middle school, it'll show the period of time that they were in a school that has a course listed on the transcript. Underneath that, there is a key that kind of says what all these letters represent on the transcript. That's really more for someone, outside of the school that's trying to make sense of the transcript to use more so than families. And then the bottom is the listing. When you start taking high school level courses, we do have some of these at the middle school level. Those are automatically transcribed. So this transcript example shows that biology taken in 8th grade is on the transcript. It has the grade. And then because the middle school is a trimester, it earns 0.3 credits. So kind of getting into the weeds and the details there, but it has a record of the high school level classes taken in middle school in this example. And then after that, it's going to be broken down by semester. So the first semester of 9th grade, second semester of 9th grade, and so on, with the list of courses, the grades, and the credits earned. All of that kind of shows to the very end, a GPA calculation per grading period. And then it's highlighted to show what the cumulative credits earned in GPA are. So with a law of math, that number will change and balance out over time. And then the final portion that it shows is the additional requirements for graduation, which we'll talk about in a minute.
And one of the things people ask is, are online credits here? And you can see over here, the online credits are also here. So usually classes like geometry, algebra, biology, and Spanish 1 that students may have taken in 8th grade are on the transcript. There is an option not for them not to show. That's a one-time deal. You can find out more about that through your school counselor. But a transcript is something that the school puts in a document. Students really don't need to worry about a transcript until they graduate, when they're sharing that. The main thing to note is these grades are being counted, are being tallied, and they are going to be presented to the college. And this is how the college knows the rigor. So very often parents ask, you know, are our classes weighted? Is there a weight to a class? And the answer is we don't. A kid who takes an AP classes or an honors class is not getting a higher weight for their grade than a student who's not. And the way a family might know, the way the college will know about the type of rigor your child is taking in high school, they know how to read this transcript because the transcript has lots of information like A for advanced placement, or they might have some kind of lettering here that talks about it's an honors class. And so that's how the colleges know. One of the big questions I very often get from families from other areas in the United States, or because they've heard about weighted GPA, it's about that. And we do not weigh our grades in Issaquah or in Washington State. Melanie or Rachel, do you want to add any information about that?
The next couple of slides will show more details. I think Rachel will present more on that in a minute.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, Lorna, thanks for mentioning the point about the weighted GPA. This is zooming in into detail, again, using that example of the courses that a student would have taken at the middle school level. By state law, these are automatically transcribed. And as Lorna alluded to, there's a process that we will discuss in a student's junior year about whether or not they want to take those classes. So I just want to alleviate any concern if your student took a class and they don't want it on their high school transcript that they took in middle school. We can discuss that. There's a process. But otherwise, again, we're just building this record. And so grades matter, you know, in a different capacity than they did in middle school. Going again into a little bit more detail, this shows credits that the student has attempted and earned. So assuming that they have a D or better, those numbers would match. And if a student does not pass a class, then they would have 0 credits earned for that level. Any classes taken towards a high school graduation goes on here. We do not have the option to take them off if a student's not happy with the grade, if they decide they want to drop the class very late in the semester. We have limitations around drop deadlines, class changes, and all these things. And so it's, again, like this is the official record, and we're bound by state law on that it has to be recorded on here. So I think we've talked about the details. Again, a lot of the lettering is more for the recipients of a transcript to decode than we would, you know, be talking about with your student.
So a couple other things to add is there's no information regarding discipline on a school transcript. So colleges are not shared information about discipline in that. There's no information about if a child is in an IEP class, also on a transcript. So colleges do not get that information. A lot of families sometimes are concerned about those aspects of their child is going to, that information is going to be shared with colleges.
And there's no attendance data, and there's no state test scores or anything like that. It is strictly a record of academics and graduation requirements.
Perfect. And so there is a way for families to track what the grades are and so forth, and we'll cover that in one of the following slides. So there is a way for you to kind of look at that, because a transcript is not something parents really ask for during their freshman, sophomore, junior years. That's something you start ordering, asking for the in unofficial one your senior year as you're looking at your grades. And even then you don't need it because you have access to all of this information on Family Access.
This is just another zoom in on some of the details on the transcript. As I was explaining, at the end of every grading period, the credits are recorded as well as the GPA calculated for that grading period. So it's a mathematical calculation of credits earned times the GPA calculated, which is that letter grade transcribed to a number. And then over time, all of those are recorded in this table that you see for cumulative GPA and cumulative credits earned. So we're always trying to track the credits earned, 29.25 in this scenario, and the cumulative GPA, 3.817. So going up and down throughout time is not a big deal. We're really just kind of looking at the totals. The bottom part, there are some additional state requirements that students need to graduate, which we're going to go into in more detail, but they're listed here. It's a high school and beyond plan, Washington state history requirement, graduation pathway, And then there's also recognition of students who might take a language competency exam or proficiency exam to note if they earned a seal of biliteracy. I would just like to say it's helpful, if you're, it says on here you can access the transcript through Parchment. Again, you really don't need this until later in your high school experience. And we do ask that students are the ones who create their Parchment account in their personal email account, not parents, because they're eventually going to be the ones that have to request that as they continue on into college.
There were two questions in the chat that I'm going to address, Rachel and Melanie. The first question is, do kids get credit even irrespective of their grades? So yes, you will get credit for the class even if you get a C or a D. So you'll still get the 0.5 credit for that half a semester. We'll talk more about how credits are earned. And so the only time you won't get credit is if you earn an F. Next one is, does it show in transcript if you take a high school level course online in middle school, or is it just on the high school courses?
So it shows on the transcript, if you go back one slide, it shows the grading period during which you earned a credit. So it might reflect you took this high school level class in 8th grade. Here it's showing biology. Still a high school level class. That's why it's on the high school transcript. And you've earned this before entering high school. The transcript does reflect that.
And this is an online class right here. The geometry class was taken online, and they still got the credit for it on their high school transcript. So the answer is yes. And then other questions were can students still do retake for tests and assignments? And that's again based on the high school teacher, but many high school teachers do have retakes for tests, but it depends again on the class and on the teacher. So you need to check the class syllabus as you take the high school class. We're going to go on to the next slide. Okay. How to graduate from high school. Rachel?
Okay, wait, yeah, there we go.
We talked about how you earn credits. You have 7 classes per year, 7.0 credit opportunity per year. Washington State requires a 24 credit to graduate. So the math obviously means that your student is likely to graduate with more credits than are required by the state, which gives them a lot of flexibility to have some extra choice in high school. These are broken down. I think we go into the detail later, but the 24 credits is a large category, and we break it down for students, and they'll hear a lot about this, about what specific courses they need to take to complete the 24 credits. An example being 4 years of English and 3 years of math. So all of the requirements put together equal 24. And as we've mentioned, the credits show that you've met the academic requirements through a passing grade, a D or higher. The grade is, and the calculation is determined by the teacher. At the beginning of every semester, teachers will share their syllabus with families. Often we're required as parents to sign those syllabi, that we've read them and understand the teacher's policies, their grading policies, any makeup opportunities that may or may not be available. But teachers are the ones who determine how the grades are calculated. And yes, a 59.9% is or lower would not be passing. And I think I mentioned that your student might earn more than the 24 credits required to graduate.
And just a clarification, students take a lot of different tests, a final test included, projects and everything. All of those grades are compiled together to create a final grade. So I know that growing up in India, I would take a final exam, or my sisters would take a final exam, and that was really the only score that was counted. Over here, all of the assignments you've earned, all of the points you've earned throughout your entire half a semester of schooling in that class are compiled together and to create one grade, a percentage, and that percentage is then translated to a letter grade that will then appear on the transcript.
Yes, and that should mimic the process that students are experiencing in their current middle school as well. Yeah, I had one more point I forgot. So if it comes to mind, I'll say it later.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I remembered what it was. There is a grading period at the quarter where students will get a report, like a grade report at the quarter. I just want to let families know that that is a point in time which teachers will share a student's grade halfway through the semester, but that quarter grade does not go on the transcript. It is only the grade at the final end of the semester. Okay, is this you, Melanie?
This is still you. You've got
Okay.
3 more.
Okay, sorry. Um, okay, graduation requirements. Your students are going to get a lot of information about how to fulfill all the credit requirements starting in ninth grade. I know that there is a lot of concern about knowing all the details about all the credits that have to be done over the 4 years. What I think is really helpful to know is that coming into ninth grade, the choices are more limited because there's a lot more first, ninth grade requirements that have to be met. And that's really where students and families can focus their efforts in the first year, is just making choices of what English class do I want to take in ninth grade, and not stressing too much about the 4-year trajectory of honors and AP, because you'll get a lot of coaching and information from teachers as they go along. So kind of with that in mind, your student has been exposed, if they're in the school district, to starting their high school and beyond plan. We use a platform called Zello to do this. The work that we do continues throughout high school. Every year, students have exercises that they'll complete to help do career exploration. That career exploration and skills inventory all is meant to help enhance a student's understanding of their interests and ideally help inform their course selection. Because there's a lot of cool opportunities in high school for fun classes. We're going to talk about graduation pathway in a lot of detail in a couple of slides, so I'm not going to dig into that. But we do take the Smarter Balance assessment again in high school, and students are encouraged to sit for that exam. It can count for one of their graduation pathways. And then finally, in Issaquah School District, our students do a course on Washington State history in 7th grade. So students who are in our district in 7th grade, social studies, and completed the right trimester, I think it's the 3rd trimester, will meet this requirement. But if they come later, come from a private school, or from out of state, then we will have them take a Northwest Studies class in high school to meet the Washington State history requirement. And that's a social studies elective open to all students as well.
And before we move to the next slide, I just want to let y'all know you will be getting a lot of information on Zello and the high school and beyond plan, because kids are doing this in school, even right now in 8th grade, and you will be more involved. And if you're not sure what that is, have a conversation with your child. I know that in my 9th grade year, my daughter would come home last year and she'd tell me what responses or what her results were from different assessments she took in the high school and beyond, in the Zello assessment she was doing. And then based on that, she would say that she was interested in this college or another college. So Zello is a program. It's an app that students are working on in 8th grade, and they'll be working on it 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. It's part of their graduation requirement to do activities on Zello. And it's, as you can see, it's part of the high school and beyond plan on this slide. And so you will be learning more about it. The schools plan on doing more information on Zello through the course of the next few years to help you better understand opportunities and interests and pathways for your child.
Okay, so then we talked about needing the 24 credits to graduate. This is a table that breaks down how those 24 credits fall into the different categories. So students will be taking English language arts class every year of high school, this for 4 credits. There is a 3-credit requirement of social studies, and that's broken down into specifics of a year and a half of world history. So all 9th graders will be taking world history. Then they'll complete a year of US history in their junior 11th grade year, and a final civics credit in their senior 12th grade year. And students will have the opportunity to take a 4th year of social studies throughout their 4 years if that's of interest to them. And some colleges like to see 4 years. Math is a 3-year minimum requirement. Students do need to take 3 years of high school level math beginning in high school. A lot of students do complete Algebra 1 and/or geometry in the middle school. And so they would continue to take 3 years of math once they're in the high school. After geometry, students have a choice if they want to go to Algebra 2 or a different pathway. And again, that depends on their post-high school goals. But generally speaking, if your student's looking to attend college after high school, they would want to take math all 4 years. Science is a 3-credit requirement, broken down into a couple specifics of what types of science. All freshmen will be taking biology, except if they took it in 8th grade, they can move on to a subsequent course. World language, there is a 2-credit requirement that comes with an asterisk because there is some flexibility for students that have an interest in taking courses to help them on a pathway of their choosing. For example, if a student wants to work in a trade and they want to use some of their time to focus on like an elective to help that pathway, we can move those credits out of world language. It's a nuance. We don't have to explore it all here. But again, colleges do sometimes like to see at least 3 years of world language. And I just want to note that we do offer a proficiency exam once students are in high school. This does not have to be brought up before high school. And it can be taken at any time during their 4 years. If they're biliterate, they can earn up to 4 language credits, and that would show on their transcript as simple credit, not bearing any GPA grade. There's a fine art component of 2 years, fine visuals, performing arts. So your music and drama is an example of performing art, visual art, like so drawing and studio art, ceramics are all examples of the art classes. Oh, and also of course our music programs. Students need 1.5 credits of PE, so that's 3 semesters. There are different ways to do that. A semester of health, and I'm almost done. Career technical education is commonly referred to as a CTE course. 1 credit is required. You won't be able to miss on that one. It will happen on its own because of your students will find something of interest that counts as a CTE career tech ed class. And then finally, those last 4 credits are open for students to choose anything of their interest. Just a common misconception is that an elective is like an art class or something. An elective is simply something over and above a minimum requirement. Example being, if your student wants to take 4 years of science, 3 years required, that 4th year of science would count as an elective credit for them. So it's a lot to digest. I hope that's just a brief sampling of how the credits are broken down in different subject areas.
And don't worry, there won't be a test given to you to make sure you know how many credits your child needs. And honestly, this is there, but I honestly use one of the tabs in Family Access, and that tab is called Graduation Requirements. And each semester, after I look at my child's grades, I can also then look and see, okay, what has she completed and what still remains? So it's a really useful tool that families have in Family Access to help parents keep track of how many credits their child has completed, how many remain. And then, of course, there's also, thanks to modern technology, a link that shows them what courses the child can take to complete and earn those credits that still remain that they need to take. Rachel, do you want to say any more for this slide?
No, it's just it can be overwhelming to look at, but there's just a lot of different ways to keep track. And I just want to help. I guess 2 things are your student school counselor will help keep them on track. So it's really hard to not get your credits in the right way. Like we will just reiterate and resupport every year with planning. So just be assured that your child is not going to miss something because nobody paid attention. We will help with that. And the second thing is when you looked at that table of, if you want to go back 1 slide, Lorna, please. If you can see, like, 3 to 4 years are required in most things. And this kind of helps inform like that 9th grade year, students are pretty much taking courses in all of these areas. So there's not as much room for worrying about, electives at the very beginning. If they take, English, social studies, math, science, those will all be required. Most students will take a world language. And then the elective is going to be in the other areas for some exploration. But it's the ninth grade year is fairly easy to pick a good starting point.
I'm going to address a couple questions in the chat. And can you take the competency exam multiple times?
I think you can. I don't think it's a one and done. So if you needed to, if you took it and you didn't earn any credit, I think you could attempt to earn a higher grade.
It's a
And then
test that does not require studying though. If
Yeah.
students are bilingual, they are very successful without any sort of preparation or studying, so.
And the next question, Rachel, is can they take it the summer before ninth grade?
They have to wait
can.
until high school.
Oh,
Once
not, yeah,
they're in the high
official-
school building, they can take the test.
And then the last question was, does the credit that they earn through the world language test count towards graduation? And yes, those credits that they earn do count towards graduation. And some kids have up to 4 credits because they score really high on the world language test that they get towards graduation credit. So that
Those are,
is.
yes, and those will count first towards the world language requirement and second towards electives.
Okay, so graduation pathway. Melanie?
I think I take over from here. So as we said, there's a number of things that your student will do to earn a high school diploma. They must meet total of 24 credits. They'll earn credits in specific graduation requirement areas. We'll check to make sure they've met a high school, Washington State history requirement. And then lastly is the graduation pathways requirement. So this is kind of unique. As a student is exploring high school and they're choosing their own high school and beyond plan, deciding on what they want to do after high school, the state requires that they also meet a graduation pathway that'll help prepare them for whichever post-high school path they chose. So if the student is planning on being college ready, then they will need a graduation pathway that shows their college readiness in both English language arts and in math. Most students, many of our students take the Smarter Balance Assessment Test. That's the test everyone takes in 10th grade. And based on that test, they may earn a Met Standard score for both English and math. So many students meet this requirement with a Smarter Balance test in 10th grade. There's also many other ways students could take a college level class in English or math. They could take a college level test like an advanced placement exam, an international baccalaureate exam, an SAT or an ACT test. We'll talk more about those later. So all of those options are demonstrating a readiness for college. So a student who wants to be ready to go to college after high school would choose one of those graduation pathway requirements. There are other pathways. So there's a military readiness pathway. Students who are interested in the military, either directly after high school or farther down the road, it doesn't require immediate enlistment. They might take the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. That's the ASVAB. That's an aptitude test that really great for students to learn more about how their aptitudes, their skills might relate to a military career. And depending on their score on the ASVAB, they could show military readiness. So a score of 31 is the score you would need to enlist. And that's a way that a student can meet a graduation pathway for military readiness, whether or not they plan to enlist. Another post-high school plan is career readiness, whether that's immediately entering that career or pursuing that career through more education. To show career readiness, students can complete a sequence of career and tech ed courses. They would need to complete 2.0 courses in one program area. So for example, business and marketing is a CTE program area, and we offer a wide variety of classes in that program area. And students could plan for a sequence of courses that could meet a CTE sequence to meet their graduation pathway. So this is very complicated, a little bit to digest. There's a lot more information about this available at the high school. So keep asking questions as you are moving through high school about this topic.
Melanie, just really quick, a great question was, when do students need to choose their pathway?
So this is a question that students will continue to ask and answer all through high school. I think by the end of 10th grade is a good time to start really firming up a plan. But it could be that at the end of 10th grade, a student says, you know, I'm thinking I want to go directly to work. And then later they change their mind and they're like, no, you know what? I do want to go directly to a four-year college, and they could shift their gears and continue working toward that plan. What we recommend is that students think very broadly, creating a plan where all of these opportunities are available to them, and not to shut any doors for themselves early. That way they have the greatest breadth of options as they continue through high school. Great question. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we mentioned earlier, as your student moves into high school, there are a lot of choices, and it's an individual choice. So students are really tailoring their schedule to fit their own individual needs. There is no one size fits all pre-programmed set of classes. This is very American US education system. As your student moves farther and farther through high school, more and more options will become available. So Rachel said earlier, in 9th grade, you've got relatively few choices. You're going to be taking English, social studies, math, science. There are some choices, but not a lot. And as you progress through high school, more and more options become available. So our standard high school classes are college preparation classes. You could take all classes at our high school, and they would prepare you to enter four-year college after high school. But you also might decide you want to pursue a little bit more depth and rigor in your curriculum. You want to push yourself a little bit farther. So there are programs and coursework called honors, advanced placement, and international baccalaureate. All of those push your student a little bit beyond your standard college prep to provide a deeper, more intense look at the subject area and challenge them to develop their skill set further. Could mean more readiness for college. Honors is a term that can mean different things in different schools. So each school creates their own honors program and define what falls within that curriculum. Advanced placement is a national program. So the advanced placement program determines which courses and what the curriculum is for those courses, and then our teachers administer the course. And international baccalaureate is just that. It's an international program. So colleges overseas may recognize this diploma in a way that is a little different than how they might interpret an American diploma. There's a lot of different ways to challenge yourself, regardless of how you're pursuing your plans for life after high school. Running Start is another program that offers academic rigor. This begins in 11th and 12th grade. And through this program, students leave the high school campus and they take classes on the college campus, truly as a college student. But their tuition is paid for by their high school education. So the tax dollars leave our building, the community college teaches the course, and the student earns both college and high school credit for that. So it's a way for them to get a running start on college credit towards a college diploma. So that's another opportunity for rigor in 11th or 12th grade. More students may choose a variety in how they want to learn. So the Issaquah School District online learning program offers a variety of classes that can be taken online. It's a different way to learn, and there's more information on the district website. And we've mentioned career and tech ed courses a handful of times in this presentation. those courses are a really great opportunity for students to explore different types of careers that might interest them. So I might think, hey, I'm really interested in building bridges and how houses are built. So I want to take an intro to engineering course to learn more about, could I really see myself in this career? And I might take that class and love it, and then want to take more classes like AP Computer Science or a higher level engineering course. Or I might decide it's not for me, and I'm going to shift gears and I'm going to check out a different career. Maybe I decide that I want to take a sports medicine class instead. So those classes are a really great opportunity to explore career interests in high school.
I wanted to say a couple things. One is, if you complete the feedback form, I can send you the slide deck. And one of the powers of the slide deck is I have put in the links to all of for you to get more information, because there's a lot of information being presented here, and you might want to look into depth about Running Starter online classes. But you can do that on the website. And if you complete the feedback form, I'll send this to you. Also, a couple of the questions parents are asking Melanie and Rachel is, can students take IB and advanced placement classes in all three schools? And so I just want to share and make sure that parents understand that IB courses are offered only at Skyline, and AP classes are offered at both Issaquah High School and at Liberty High School. So the students will get one or the other. They're both considered rigorous classes, so students will be getting the rigorous classes. The IB program, if your child will be going to Skyline, children cannot take at this age IB courses in ninth grade. There's an age limit for IB courses. And so at the end of your ninth grade year, I would encourage you, if you're interested in the IB program, to go to the IB information night that happens usually in the fall. And there is a person responsible for the IB program at Skyline, and he will have information nights. So please go to one of those information nights and you can read more information on the website. AP classes, usually students start taking AP classes their sophomore year. There's some exceptions, but usually in ninth grade, their freshman year, they start taking honors classes. And both Skyline and Issaquah and Liberty, all three, I should say, offer many honors programs or classes. And then Running Start, students take Running Start classes only in their junior year. And so if they're applying for college, then they can mention that in their college application. And those credits are considered also college level credit. But the colleges, part of the college application, students have to enter what classes and what they're taking. And so that's how you share that information with colleges. And then colleges might also ask for an unofficial transcript. But usually you're sharing information with the colleges as to what classes you're taking till they ask for that official or unofficial transcript.
I will say a regular question we receive is, which is better? Which is better, AP, IB, or Running Start? And when we ask that question to colleges, they say all of those demonstrate rigor. So again, there is not one specific best path. You can always consult with a college to ask that question as well, but that is what we have heard on a regular basis from colleges in this area, that all of those demonstrate rigor. Okay, I'll move on. You can also learn a lot more about courses in the upcoming family nights at each high school. I think each high school is holding those the week after midwinter break. So some other things aside from graduation requirements at the high school, there are some tests and assessments that your student may hear about or experience in high school that are not necessarily a requirement to graduate, but are an option for them to consider. So there are two tests, the Scholastic Aptitude Test and the American College Test, SAT and ACT. These are college entrance exams. Some college applications may require them, but more and more colleges are saying, we don't require it, it's optional, you can provide it if you would like to. So as you hear about SAT and ACT, Again, those are not they're not a test that the school creates. It is through an outside testing agency, SAT and ACT, they're college entrance exams, and it's just an option for students. It doesn't impact their high school graduation. Two other types of exams, as I said, we have college level programs, advanced placement or AP, and also international baccalaureate, IB. This is college level curriculum that culminates with a final exam. And based on how a student might perform on that exam, a college could say, because of your score on this exam, I'm going to award you college credit once you've entered my university. So I could take AP French. The score on that test is 1 through 5. Let's say I earn a 4. A certain college may say, well, we're going to waive your world language requirement, or we're going to award you world language college credit based on that exam. The exam is not a required component of the course. So whether or not you take the final exam for AP or IB, the rigor of the coursework will display on your high school transcript. And then you get the choice to take the exam and possibly earn college credit later once you've entered a college campus. And
Melanie?
yep.
Sorry. Just clarification, a parent is asking if you can take an AP exam at Skyline.
I believe, I might have to ask Rachel this, but I believe that there are some that Skyline might offer some AP exams. I know that there are also students, Skyline students, who come to IHS or Liberty to take an AP exam. I should note that you can take an AP exam without having taken the course. So often we'll see a student is biliterate in Chinese, and they are very comfortable sitting the AP Chinese exam, even though they didn't take the AP Chinese course. So that's an option as well. Rachel, anything else to add on that?
No, I think that's correct. I think it's just, there's options to take it if they would like. There's also, I just want to have like a really small asterisk, our online learning program does have limited AP courses. If a student at Skyline that couldn't access one really wanted it, there are limited options, and that would be a great conversation for your high school counselor.
Yeah.
Once you're in high school.
And last question is, can students take AP tests or exam in 9th grade?
The AP program does not limit access based on age. IB program does. You cannot sit an IB test until you reach a certain age, but AP is not restricted by age. There are some AP classes that are set to a certain grade level. So AP language is specifically set as a junior English class. You can't take it until you're a junior. There are other AP classes that you could take whenever you feel ready. So AP Computer Science is open to 9th through 12th graders. You may or may not feel ready to take it in 9th grade, but you wouldn't be restricted based on your age. And likewise, the AP exam is open to anyone. It is not restricted by age.
And I know there is a lot of desire for families often to want to have some AP courses on their schedule right into high school. It's very limited. Like you mentioned, the one that we would have at our building. When we communicate with colleges, they have a record of all the courses that we offer and when they're offered. So it doesn't look strange to colleges if students don't have courses, AP level courses as a 9th grader, because we just simply don't have those to offer at that grade level. So.
But we have many honors classes, so your child can still take that class, and the college will still see that the child is taking a rigorous class. Yes.
Okay, and the last test that I'll mention on this page is the preliminary SAT, the preliminary scholastic aptitude test. This is truly a practice test. This is a no-risk opportunity for students to sit a preliminary college entrance exam just to get the experience of what that test is like. Regardless whether they do well, they don't do well, however they do, they will have the opportunity to sit in that very, very formal testing environment. It's a timed test. There are a lot of sections, so they get great experience taking the test. And then with their test results, it comes with a learning plan on how to their areas of strength and other areas where they might want to prepare further, and with steps and ideas about how to prepare further. Again, PSAT is not required for graduation. It doesn't go on your transcript. It's not factored into your GPA. It is also not a part of any college application. So you take the PSAT, regardless of how you do, it doesn't impact your college application. It's just for your own eyes. This is a test that we offer at school during a school day in October, and all 10th and 11th graders take the test. Again, it is a low to no risk situation. So it's a great opportunity to just have the experience without having to feel too much anxiety about the outcome. It's just a good opportunity to learn. Okay. All right, some other programs that are offered in our high school. You will hear the terms ELL and MLL typically meant to mean the same thing. That's our multilingual learners program. And if your student is currently in MLL program, they will be taking the WIDA test, the WIDA test. It's an annual English language exam. Usually it's February or March, so it should be coming up soon. And that test is to check in on a student's level of English language proficiency, like how they are coming along in their language acquisition. And if it is determined based on that test that they may still benefit from MLL services, they would continue to qualify for the program. And the MLL teachers at the middle school partner with the MLL teachers at the high school to plan for a smooth transition for students. They look at the students' course requests and their strengths and their areas of need, and they help to ensure that there is a good schedule at the high school that will meet their needs. So in high school, students within the MLL program will typically take one English language development class from a teacher who is certified to help build their skill. And that class is focused on the academic language needed for as they're progressing through high school. The curriculum is at a higher reading level, and academic language may be an area where they need to further strengthen, even when their conversational language is very strong. So they will look at reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills to help build the students' opportunity for success in post-high school plans. Anything else to add there, Lorna?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, next slide. Okay, other supports within the high school. Every high school has school counselors for your students, just like there is a school counselor in the middle school for your student. This is where Rachel and I come in. We are focused on thinking about supporting a student and a family in accessing their education in high school. So throughout high school, the school counselor will think about academic, social, emotional, and college and career planning supports for all of their students. With academics, they monitor a student's progress toward meeting graduation requirements. They're checking to make sure students are on track, and when they aren't, to provide supports and information for students and families about their opportunity to get back on track. When a student enrolls, they will look at a transcript or credits from a previous school and help them understand how that translates toward an Issaquah Issaquah School District diploma. And they also provide a lot of information and resource about all of the academic opportunities. So we've talked about a lot of programs tonight. You are not going to remember all the details about these programs, But all through high school, there is a school counselor who knows this information and can share more details. When you get to the end of 10th grade and your student is wondering about Running Start, the school counseling office is a great place to start with questions about Running Start. You're not sure how they might meet their PE requirement. They failed a class and need to make up a credit. All of these are great academic supports that school counselors provide. They also provide social emotional support. So what we hope and what we promote in our schools is that it's not a stigma to talk to the counselor. When a student gets a pass and they come down to the counseling office, sometimes they'll say, oh, I'm like, am I in trouble? And we always reassure them, no, like I'm here to help you. This is a good thing. This is for you to have somebody who's in your corner and is helping you think about any obstacles that are standing in your way of progressing in your education. And I'm here to support you in how to proceed. So we might talk with us if a student is upset, if a student is concerned about a friend, if there's been something that's been bothering them or really presenting an obstacle for them, being able to like feel safe. All of those things are things that a school counselor is there to support a student. So we also help to connect students to mental health resources on our campus and out in the community. It could be that a family has learned that there's a lot going on for their student and they want to pursue additional help from a provider outside of school. The school counselor can help connect the family to resources through either our school-based health counselors on campus or through a service called Care Solace that connects families to care out in the community. What we have seen statistically is there is a rise in depression and anxiety in schools across the United States and also in the world. And when anxiety and depression prevent a student from being able to show what they know in school, we know that can close doors for them for their future. And so our goal is to make sure that we're listening to what a student needs and thinking about all of those needs so that they are able to feel safe and healthy at school. And that way they can progress towards their post-high school goals. And then lastly, counselors are also knowledgeable about how planning in high school can prepare a student for their post-high school goals. And we work closely with a College and Career Center. We'll talk more about that later in this presentation. Our partners in the College and Career Center are also a really great resource for college and career planning throughout high school. So many things that your school counselor can help you with, something to keep in mind.
So a parent was asking a good question connected to College and Career Center, and that was, do the high schools have a professional mentorship or internship programs? And I was just going to respond that no, but that's a great thing to go to the College and Career Center to look for those kinds of opportunities, because they also post information on volunteer opportunities, sometimes job opportunities, and also have different college reps coming in. And so it's students, at least my daughter started visiting college and career centers even last year.
Great.
Freshman year.
Okay, so another resource for you throughout high school and even before high school is the school counseling website. So each high school counseling department has a school counseling website. You go to Issaquah, Skyline, or Liberty High School, or to Gibson Eck, and you look, I think it's under Student Life. You'll see a link to counseling. High school counselors are assigned to students based on the student's last name. So throughout high school, typically a student will have the same high school counselor all throughout high school based on their last name. Now, sometimes we have a change in staffing. Somebody is, moving to Texas, so we hire a new counselor. So there might be changes in counselor based on some subtle changes like that. But we value the opportunity to get to know a student and support them all the way through high school. And because our cases are based on last name, then often we get to know a family and support all of the students with a family. So we are able to develop relationships with parents and guardians and support their students. So how would you access a counselor? So for students, quick questions, we get drop-ins all the time. Could be before school, after school, during lunch. During class time, we want you to be in class. We don't want you to miss your instruction. But those quick drop-ins can happen quite often. Students can also ask for an appointment with a counselor. It could be that they send an email or they drop by the counseling office and leave a message. They contact their counselor through Canvas, and we arrange a time for a longer conversation. And how a student makes that appointment can depend on the school. So it could be that there's time during the day, it could be that there's time during flex time. Each counseling office will provide information about how to schedule with a counselor. And then families can also access school counselors. You can email your child's counselor. We've got that link in this first bullet that says high school counselor assigned based on student last name. That goes to a district website that shows all of the school counselors district-wide and which last names they serve. So families can email or call a counselor to set up an appointment. What we find is during the school day, that is the only time I can meet with students. So I do try and think, how am I prioritizing time to meet with students when they're available to me? And then make sure that I'm also meeting the needs of families. So it is best if I can schedule appointments so I'm ensuring I'm serving as many people as effectively as I can. A very common question is, 8th grade parent, can I meet the high school counselor now? And while we would love to meet everybody as much as we can, we know there are limited hours in the day, and we don't want to leave our existing students unserved. So what we ask is that for questions that are coming up right now, your 8th grade counselor, your middle school counselor, has access to all the information about how your student is doing in school now. And they know about the choices available in 9th grade. So that 8th grade counselor and the 8th grade teachers are the best people to give advice right now. And then once your student begins in the fall and it's September, then that would be a great time to connect with a high school counselor. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we mentioned the College and Career Center. This is a great resource for students. Families may accompany students as well, but we really do want students to be in the driver's seat with their family there, in the driver's ed seat to pump the brakes if need be. The mission of the College and Career Center is really helping students build a plan for life after high school. College and Career Center also have great websites that you can find on the high school website. They help a student think about, what are my options after high school? What would I need to do in high school to be prepared for that option? What do I have to do for my high school and beyond plan? They're in a separate office from the counseling center, another resource for students. And they could help with so many questions. I want to learn more about a career. I want to learn more about a college. I want to learn more about military or scholarships or volunteer opportunities. I want a part-time job. I want to seek out an internship. I need help with college applications. College and Career Center helps with all of these topics. So for now, the important thing is just to know that this exists. And then once your student is at the high school, this would be a great place for them to visit. Anything else, Lorna?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. College entrance, I think this is my last slide. So college entrance requirements. We've talked a lot about what you need to do to graduate from high school. And each student is making their path through high school based on their post-high school plan. So it is possible to graduate from high school without meeting all of the college entrance requirements, because a student has said, I'm planning on going directly to a trade program. They don't need world language, so I'm going to elect to choose a different path and take that. Different colleges have different levels of entrance requirements. Some may have a very minimal set. I think there are some good overarching principles to think about in terms of being college ready. We had that several slides back. There was a pink colored chart that talked about college entrance requirements in terms of coursework. So depending on how selective a college is, they may have minimum entrance requirements, but the students who are admitted may tend to be those students who are going well above the minimum. Yep, this is the chart that I was talking about. So you'll see on the right.
And Melanie, you had mentioned that these were the 4-year college requirements for Washington State colleges, right?
Exactly, exactly. So for public Washington State colleges, UW, University of Washington, Washington State University, Western Washington University, Eastern, Central, Evergreen.
And that's why we state on our document that it's really important to look at the college. So that's why Zello or having your child have an idea of what college they want to go to, and then visiting that college's website and looking at the requirements for application and admittance. And then once you've done that, then you can kind of work backwards or to see what classes you need to take in order to be considered competitive to be accepted at that college.
Exactly. So we've linked a couple websites here. You can see the differences on each of those websites about their college entrance requirements. In general, colleges are looking at your GPA, your weighted, it's not weighted, your GPA, which is an average of all of your grades in high school. And they're looking at the rigor of your classwork. They're also looking at more than that. They're looking at who you are as an individual. They're looking for well-rounded students who've been involved. So where in other countries you may sit one exam, and based on that exam, that decides whether you're going to uni or a different route. In America, they are looking at a whole portfolio of information, your coursework, your grades, you may write some essays. They might look at your resume to see things that you're doing outside of school, like athletics or volunteering or jobs, your extracurricular activities. So all of these things are things that a college in the United States would value, and they look at that whole profile to decide whether or not to admit a student. As we discussed before, many colleges don't require a college entrance exam like the SAT or ACT, but some do. So it is important to look at each school. Washington State schools do not require them at this point in time, but it is optional. So a student could take it and include it on their college application.
Also, just a reminder that colleges also look at things like jobs, if a student has a job, and what kind of interests or what kind of passion project the student might have had through high school, or also what kind of volunteer opportunities they've had. Volunteering is not a requirement of high school. We just encourage students to do that because we know that colleges sometimes look for their outside interests and passions that might include volunteer work.
Okay, Lorna, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you. So one of the beauties of high school is also we have robust high school athletics programs. And for students to participate in high school athletics, they need to have completed a document and forms in a system called Final Forms. So just like in middle school, for your child to have participated in sports, they needed to complete forms and Final Forms. In high school, they need to do that. And they also need to make sure that their sports physicals and have it signed by a medical professional have been updated into Final Forms. There is a fee for participating in sports, and each school's website has very detailed information on the dates the sports start, the seasons, and all of the information. One thing I will say is in high school, Some of the sports begin quite early, and there is training even in the summer in August. So keep that in mind because you might have meetings for certain activities as early as mid-August or so, some training programs. So the forms have to be completed by August 15th. Over here, Melanie, am I sharing the website for Issaquah High School?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, perfect. So you'll notice that all three websites, Issaquah High School, Skyline, and Liberty, you'll find all this information under Student Life, Athletics, and then it'll have all that information on all the sports the colleges are offering, the high schools are offering. High schools offer a lot more sports than middle school. We do have tennis, we have track, which is similar that they have in middle schools, but they also offer boys soccer, they have girls tennis, they have golf. This is Issaquah High School. So look at your high school's website to see what kind of sports is offered at that high school. Okay. Extracurriculars. This is where high schools really shine. They have so many different clubs that they have. So check the school's website and see what kind of club opportunities the school has. There are clubs meeting nearly every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. At Issaquah High, there are even some clubs on Fridays. There are after-school buses, like in middle school. You do need to pay an ASB fee to participate in sports and clubs. That's how they're able to pay for those activities at schools. Remember, in Issaquah and in public school, the academics is free education. However, the sports and clubs are not covered by many of the state funding. And so we collect money from students called an ASB fee, and that money goes towards supporting those clubs and sports. The club in ninth grade is a great way for students to feel connected, to make friends, and they can really find their niche and what the people that they might be wanting to be friends with a little bit more. They have lots of drama also, uh, performances. They have the ASB group leaders, I would say. This is an example of clubs at Liberty High School. You can see they have astronomy club, athletes for kids. They have art club, Asian culture club, badminton, baking club, band, BSU, Black Student Union, cheer, chess, choir, DECA. Many clubs are offered at the school. The website, just like the middle school websites, will also give you the place and the time that the club is meeting. And notice that this is for this year, but may change for next year, so it's not guaranteed. But you can see it's a long list. And in addition, the schools will say if there's a club that is not listed and there are a group of students who are interested in doing that, participating in that club, please make sure you talk to the ASB advisor at that school to see if they can start a new club. Colleges very often look at involvement and leadership in clubs as part of their acceptance. So consider that. Activity outside school, community leadership opportunities. Sometimes the Cultural Bridge magazine also has some information on outside school leadership opportunities. So there are community service hours. Community service and part-time jobs can also be listed in the college admissions form. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at creating or making sure your child has time to have that well-rounded experience. So if your child is taking all AP exams and honors classes, do they have time to participate in sports and clubs, do some volunteer activity work? So that is all part of the considerations as your child goes to high school. So general reminders, if your child has an IEP, that IEP will follow your child from middle school to high school. Please have a conversation with your child's case manager so there you have a better plan as your child transitions from middle school to high school, and also about the classes, what that transition is going to look like, what the graduation choices and class selection might be for your child as they're going into high school. An IEP is an individualized education plan for students who are in the special education program. Some students have a health plan or a 504 plan, which is sometimes regarding disabilities. Okay, Melanie, you want to speak about that? Oh, you're muted, Melanie.
I'm giving you a time check. It's 8 o'clock and we have
Okay.
several slides left. Sorry, I took up so much time.
It's okay. The rest of them are pretty short, so we'll be fine.
Okay.
So 504 and health plans also follow your child from middle school to high school. The nurses and the 504 coordinators will talk to each other to get that information uh, transferred from the middle school to the high school, just like they did from elementary to middle school. Your child will also have probably have a new transportation route, but that information is also in the transportation schedule. You'll be able to use the Versatrans, the program that students use to look up their bus route. So look at that. Activity buses are also available in high school. Also assigned laptops. Students also use laptops and have an assigned laptop because they'll be doing all their grading or grade checks and assignments to teachers use Canvas. And you can also use attendance and look at your graduation milestones in Family Access. So that all of that information will follow your child from middle to high school. So next one. So we do have several 8th grade transition events at the high school. Students and parents are encouraged to attend the events. They're actually all at the end of February. None of them will be in March this year. The middle school has already been sent, the high school, I should say, has already been sending information to students. And middle schools have been presenting that information about the 8th grade transition nights in their bulletins. The high school counselors present this information to the 8th grade students. And so students will be submitting their course selection directly through student access, okay? So remember, when students choose their classes, it's not through Zello or anything. They will be putting it in student access, and that's how they will be doing their course selection. And all that information will be provided to students and families when they go to the transition nights at the high schools, and that information is going to be shared. The dates will be shared in the next slide. Just a reminder, we'll have another slide on this too about Gibsonet. But Gibsonet, they have an online application and it's open until February 29th. So the high schools transition nights are all on the 28th or the 27th of February. Issaquah High School has 4 different dates and times based on your last name. So I have a link to the flyer if you need to look and see what day you should be attending. But otherwise, Skyline and Liberties are both on the 28th. So check your emails because you have been sent or you will be sent more information about those, the times for those events. And as I said earlier, the Gibson School, the enrollment forms are available. Students can start applying for that. And remember that acceptance once you've applied for it, there's then a lottery, and the lottery is held on March 1st, and students are selected and they accept the first certain number of students into Gibsonet, and the rest of the students are put on a wait list. And then students sometimes are contacted as students may change their mind about attending or not attending Gibsonet through the summer. And so they still inform students all the way till early August about acceptance into Gibsonet. But once students are in 9th grade in Gibsonet, there's really no opportunity for them to get into Gibsonet after their 9th grade year. Okay, so that is one thing different than the other high schools. So keep that in mind. There's a great informational video on the Gibsonet website. Also, Gibsonet had several information nights that they had advertised for earlier in January. They don't have another information night coming up, but if you contact the school, they'd be happy to have a conversation with you and share more information about the school. Can we switch from Gibsonet to another public high school? And the answer is yes. Gibsonet is a high school, so you cannot go from Gibsonet to a middle school. And Gibson, okay, next one. So what can parents do to prepare their child for the transition to high school? So visit and become information with become familiar with the information provided on by the high school parent night at the end of this month. Talk to your eighth grader. This is a big thing. Eighth graders are getting a lot of information that they're doing through activities in Zello. So talk to them and see what kind of information they're finding out about themselves through these activities. Make a flexible plan if appropriate, but recognize students may not be sure of all future plans. People always say, how does my child choose now at the age of 13 and 14 as to what they will be doing in their 20s? And it is a very, very hard decision and choices. But the thing is, your high school years are really a time for children to explore. The beauty of the high school, especially in the Issaquah School District, is we offer so many opportunities and classes. And those classes are usually in the shape of some of the electives, the CTE courses. And all of these courses give students a little peek into what the future in that career or in that line of work might look like. So students are really encouraged to try different classes that they may be interested in, and using Zello is really a good way to connect what class should I take, and that Zello can provide some of that information. So review and discuss the options with your child throughout this year as they're choosing their classes in March. In 9th and 10th grade, your child can start building a relationship with the high school counselor and just talk about classes and opportunities and what are some suggestions. The counselor doesn't tell your child what to take, but your counselor is a good advisor, okay, to help your child decide what courses might help them towards certain fields and such. So also talk to other high school parents. All of the high schools have a robust PTSA group and social media maybe to talk to some other parents and get some advice as to choices they made. Talk to high school students, juniors and seniors if you see them. I know that at Issaquah High School they have their freshman orientation night. Skyline has one too, and I'm sure Liberty does. But at the Issaquah High School they had a student panel, and students talked about some of their classes and choices, and parents ask questions. It's a great opportunity to hear directly from students about their opportunities and about their choices through school. So what's next? If you have not already done so, make sure you're seeing the bulletins in the next couple months. This is a good time to really be reading them, because some critical information will be posted regarding school class selection and the information nights. If you have any questions, email your child's middle school counselor this year, or you can also email your child's family partnership liaison. Attend your child's incoming information event in February. Be with your child as they attend the freshman orientation event in August. Look for the date. Usually it is, I know Skyline and IHS have it the day before school starts, and I'm assuming that it's most likely going to be that same day next year. And then talk to your child as to what they learned in school about high school preparation and Zello. So at this time, we are done with our presentation. I'm going to give you all a few minutes and leave this last slide on so you can use the QR code to log into the feedback form and complete the feedback form. It's very short. Mainly, I'm just looking to get some information as to what information was most beneficial to you, what information you want more of. Using the feedback form, I share that with the liaisons to contact parents so that they can answer questions that we did not address in the chat, or questions that are very specific to your child. Also, if you have, I can send you, if you fill out the feedback form, I can send you the slide deck, and I'll also send you a video recording of this presentation.
I know a number of families were curious about the world language proficiency exam, so I just want to globally announce that you'll include a link for information on that when you send out the materials.
I will. And at this time, I am going to stop recording so parents can also